In this video, I'm going to share 3 simple changes you can make today that will take you from hating marketing to doing it in a way that takes up a fraction of the time, is built on science, not guesswork, and actually works for your schedule and your soul. So let's get into it. So the conventional advice that most online gurus and popular marketing books give is to bet the farm on big launches a few times a year. The idea is if you can focus your time and attention on a few big launches, then you're more likely to be successful because your attention isn't scattered across a lot of different offers in the year. But when you understand marketing psychology and why people buy, you start to see why big launches aren't a great strategy for most businesses. Because it turns out that most people buy based on when the time is right, not when you beat them into submission with 1,000 sales emails. In fact, marketing effectiveness research has found that only about 5% of your audience is in market to buy what you offer at any given time, while 95% of them are waiting until the time is right for them. It's called the 95-5 rule for pretty obvious reasons. It's kind of like trying to sell them a McDonald's hamburger when they're not hungry. Your job isn't to make them hungry. You can't do that. It's to be top of mind when it's time for them to eat. It's why when it comes to sales, base hits are way more powerful than home runs. So let me explain this baseball metaphor quickly for those of you who may not be familiar with how the game works. Even if you're not a baseball fan, you probably know what a home run is. It's where someone comes up to the plate and the ball is thrown and they hit that ball so hard that it actually flies out of the park. It's as far as you could possibly hit a ball, and when that happens, everyone who's standing on a base can just casually walk in and they each score a point called a run. Now, home runs are spectacular. They're impressive. They get everybody in the baseball stadium really hyped and excited. In some stadiums, fireworks go off and they play special celebration songs. It's pretty impressive when it happens, but the thing is, it just doesn't happen that often. That's because it's a lot harder to hit a home run where everything has to go right than it is to just hit the ball at all. And in baseball, if you hit the ball, but it's not a home run, then you have to go run to one of the bases. Once there's enough people on the bases, they can start to come in and score points or runs. Now, these are what are called base hits. They aren't sexy, they aren't impressive, and they definitely are not setting off fireworks for any of these. But the thing is that they're more consistent. They're easier to do, and it's the opposite of having to have every single thing go perfectly. A lot of things can go wrong and you can still get a base hit and run to the base. Then if you have enough of those, you just start scoring runs one right after the other. And in business, when I say base hits, that's the equivalent of making an offer every single day. When I say home runs, that's the equivalent of betting it all on these really big, spectacular launches. Your chances of hitting a home run are so small that it's almost not worth pursuing at all. But on the other hand, making daily offers massively increases your chances for sales because it increases the chance that your offer will show up in front of the right people at the right time and result in a sale. This base hit strategy has 6x'd my own sales, and it's had a massive impact on my clients' sales too. Think of it kind of like Moneyball for business. You just get on base over and over and over, and you'll sell more offers and products overall, even if it's a lot less flashy than doing a big risky launch a few times a year. When you build a marketing system that makes it easy to share daily offers without annoying your potential customers or feeling too salesy, you get a marketing system that's at least twice as effective, built on how buyers actually make decisions. Plus, it's about 1,000% less stressful. So let me tell you a quick story about a client of mine. We're going to call him JT. So JT came to me after basically taking a break in his business because he was just so stressed and burnt out from betting the farm on these huge launches a couple of times a year. He'd gone through this a few times, and in fact, it had actually hired someone to coordinate these big launches for him who was a marketing launch expert. He'd spent hundreds of hours and a lot of money preparing these big, massive launches because he'd bought into this conventional wisdom that focusing on a couple of big launches a year was a better use of his time and attention than giving out daily offers. It makes sense on the surface, but as we said, the real problem is that the research tells us that people buy mostly on timing. So when these big launches happen, if the timing isn't right for the majority of your customers, people just aren't buying. And that's what was happening with JT. Every time he ran one of these launches, the results barely covered the cost to actually create the big launch, which then in turn created this really negative mental spiral for him because expectations were bumped up so high that every single launch was going to be this big, huge success that when it fell flat, JT felt like a failure. So when he started working with me and one-on-one coaching, we made this shift from home run mentality to base hit mentality. So JT started making more consistent offers, one every single day. We worked together to install a marketing rhythm that allowed him to sell more often without feeling salesy, without annoying his customers and without burning out. And with each new offer, JT gained sales momentum, which really helped his confidence in the business and in himself. And the best part, he told me, was that if one offer failed, it didn't really matter because he was going to get up to the plate again the very next day. That's the power of questioning conventional marketing wisdom and playing a different game, one based on buyer psychology and marketing effectiveness research. By the way, a daily offer system is something that I help my one-on-one coaching clients and community members install in their business. If you want to know more about both, I recommend checking out the links in the description. So next, we're going to talk about one of the biggest complaints that I hear from my clients about creating marketing content and how we can solve this issue basically overnight. I feel like a hamster on a wheel. How am I supposed to create all this content and run my business? But then again, how am I supposed to get buyers and clients if I'm not creating content and marketing for my business? I feel like my choices are burning out or just never growing. It's like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, I hear comments like this all the time from my community members and my one-on-one coaching clients. And there's two ways to solve it. The first is by having a system that makes content way easier to create, which, by the way, I teach this in my Wreck It Method workshop, which is where I'll show you how I author 30 days of content in less than one day across multiple marketing channels. And there's a link in the description if you want to learn more. And two, and probably more importantly, is by changing your mindset around creating content. Too often when people tell me that marketing feels like a grind, it's because they're thinking about content like it's a paper plate. It's disposable. You use it once and then you throw it away. They feel like they can never repeat a post or an idea, so every single day becomes a challenge to rack their brains to think about something to post, to create that thing to post, and then schedule it or post it, and then having to start all over again the very next day. Now that cycle is exhausting because it requires you to basically reset to zero every single day. But what if your content wasn't disposable? Not because it magically became like evergreen, but because it was designed to evolve. And that's the mindset shift that you have to make to balance the need for consistent content that's shared on a lot of different platforms and being able to actually run a business and not be a full-time marketer. So stop thinking of content as disposable and start thinking about your content like a library. A content library isn't about publishing once and then never touching it again. It's about building a body of work that improves over time based on a few select insights and ideas. Instead of throwing away every single post after 24 hours, you reuse it, you improve it, you repurpose, refresh, upgrade, expand, and contract it. And you never have to start from a blank page again. Not because you're abdicating all your thinking and your marketing to ChatGPT, which, by the way, if you do that, will make you blend in with every other business that's outsourced its thinking to AI. Not because AI is evil, but because it sort of averages everybody out to the same place. And because good content is a long-term asset that should be repeated and reused. The process that I use for this is what I call my content loop system. I talk a lot about it in my free newsletter. It's a link in the description, but I'm also in the process of making quite a few more YouTube videos about it, which I will link in the description of this video when they're up. But next, I want to talk about the most important psychological principle for any business owner who wants to sell more. One of the biggest reasons marketing feels gross to people, especially in this world of like TikTok and influencers who are more performers than business people, is because they think they have to pretend to be someone that they're not, just to make a living with their business. It's a common complaint that I hear from people all the time. They say things to me like, I just want to be a musician. I don't want to learn how to be a marketer. Or I just want to be an artist. I just want to make my earrings. I just want to make this personal care brand or clothing item or car part or consulting offer or course, whatever. But I never signed up for being an influencer or a content creator. And it's because social media has conditioned us to think that marketing is pretending to be something that we're not. They think they need to spend hundreds of hours learning how to perfect hooks or calls to action or have a glamorous photo shoot that they can throw inspirational quotes over, or learn how to make TikToks or learn how to grow an Instagram account or a LinkedIn account or write emails. All things that they never really wanted to do in the first place, but they feel like they're forced to do to compete. All performative and all prescribed to them by people who basically sell marketing snake oil by telling them that they have to act and behave in a certain way to build an audience and get buyers. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that. It's why so much marketing advice feels cringe or embarrassing or inauthentic. It's built on pretending to be something that most people just aren't, and that's okay. The truth is, you don't need to be the loudest or the pushiest or the hottest or the youngest or the most annoying or the trendiest. You just need to be the most meaningful to the right people. Not all the people, just the right people for you. And that doesn't come from manipulation or pretending to be somebody that you're not. That comes from connecting with people and what they value. In psychology, there's this concept called a parasocial relationship. It's the one-way emotional bond people form with creators and personalities, celebrities, and even brands. It's why you feel like you know your favorite podcaster or YouTuber, even if you've never actually met them. It's why people buy from creators they've followed for years, even if they've never even seen them in real life. That bond doesn't form because someone used the perfect hook in a TikTok. It forms because they showed up like a human and they connected with other humans over time with surprising insights, with unique ideas, with an actual point of view. Now, I had a client, a financial coach, who told me she hated creating content because she felt like she had to play a character to compete on social media. So we made one change to her strategy. Instead of creating content that performed well with likes and shares, we focused on creating content that was very specific, concrete, personal, and meaningful for her ideal customers. One built on insight, not on giving away all her value. She told stories about her clients, their struggles, and how they fixed them together. She talked about money like a real person with real life examples and expertise, not like someone trying to game an algorithm to get more followers. Within weeks, she started getting DMs from people saying things like, "I feel like you're in my head. This is the first time I've actually felt seen by somebody in this space." Now, over time, my client was getting fewer meaningless vanity metrics like likes and follows and shares, but when she made an offer, her sales were off the charts compared to where they had been when she was trying to become some kind of influencer and not create a personal connection with her potential buyers. Now, when she makes an offer, people actually move because the relationship is already there. They know her, they like her, they trust her. Next, I'm going to tell you what most people get wrong about the purpose of marketing and content, and why, when you learn the psychological role that it plays in getting people to buy from you, you'll understand why it's a non-negotiable to create a meaningful parasocial relationship by repeating and reusing and refreshing insightful content. Now, I know we started this video with me saying I was going to give you 3 simple strategies that you could use today to transform your marketing from feeling like a chore to being something that's a lot more effective and easy to do. Well, I lied. I'm going to give you 4 reasons. So here's one for the road. Now, this one is something that I see even experienced marketers get wrong because they don't necessarily understand the psychology and behavioral science behind why people buy. And that is the big mistake of thinking that the purpose of marketing is persuasion, bullying someone into saying yes, for lack of a better word, turning a no into a maybe, arguing with a skeptic until they have no choice but to buy. But psychology and decades of research on buyer behavior say something different. The real purpose of marketing is creating memories. Because when someone's finally ready to act, they don't weigh every option, they don't start researching from scratch, they reach for that name that they already know, like, and trust. That means your marketing's job isn't to apply pressure, it's to make you unforgettable. So don't ask yourself, how do I force or convince or trick people into buying right now? Ask, what am I known for? What memories am I trying to build? Am I being consistent enough in my message and content that I'm able to build memories for my potential buyers? So if you've been hating marketing because it feels like you're grasping at straws, like it's a giant time suck, or it requires you to act fake or pushy, now you know why. And more importantly, you know what to do instead. Make daily base hits instead of swinging for home runs, build a content library that compounds in value instead of expires, create meaning and parasocial relationships instead of relying on tricks and manipulation, and focus on building memories with marketing, because that's what drives decisions. If you want to take the next step, you've got a few options. First is you can grab my free guide, 6 easy ways to get more leads that you probably haven't heard of. You'll find the link below, or just visit 6ways-to-get-more-leads.com. Or if you want my help installing a marketing system like the one I've talked about in this video inside of your business, then check out the links in the description for one-on-one coaching with me, or for joining my community, Choice Hacking Pro. And if you're curious how these ideas fit into the bigger picture, the kind of strategy that consistently turns followers into believers, buyers, and repeat buyers, then watch this video all about the model that made more than $250 million in sales, or this video about the 3 ways psychological pricing can help you make more money while selling less. Until next time.